We'll call to order the July 18th meeting of the Montgomery County Board of Elections. Pledge earlier, so we're good there. Any opening election board comments? I'll go last.
No.
Anything?
Where's Steve? There you are. You usually sit over there. Got the project plan that you supplied, so thank you. I didn't get a chance to go through it, but I'm excited to look through it and look at, Well, I just want to pre-thank you on your, what you're going to go through. And then let me know when you're going to switch over here, so I'll look over there. That's what it was. Usually behind the podium, I'm like, where's Frank?
He's hard to please.
That's right, I am. She's laughing over there.
We're funny guys.
You are funny.
Good?
Funny how?
Okay.
Neil, you're losing control of your meeting.
Just waiting. Okay. Do we have, I don't really have, I mean, I made my comments earlier. We're going to make sure our elections are safe, secure, and accessible. And we're continuing on that. We had a contract that we voted on in the Board of Commissioners meeting for Phoenix Graphics, which is going to provide mail and printing services for our ballots, which, again, I want to thank everyone for making that happen. And we'll get an update from Frank. But before we go to Frank, do we have any public comment? Yes. Go ahead.
Jim Malik, Worcester. I listened to your comments at the board meeting by stream. And tell me if I got this right. No indication that anyone who is a non-citizen is voting in Montgomery County.
That is what I said.
How do you know that?
Because there's no indication.
How do you know?
Because I have
There's
not
no
received-
indication, so nobody brought it to you? Is that what you're saying?
I have no indication that there's any evidence of the widespread fraud that the person is talking about.
Well, I'm not talking about widespread fraud. I'm talking about anybody.
I've actually had no indication of anything.
You know, is there a way that the county goes and looks at citizens and citizenship and things like that?
Actually, when you register to vote, you have to not only declare that you're a citizen 18, but the state itself has either your social security, your driver's license, and they run a database and check, and citizenship
You
is
get the
part.
driver's license. Can a non-citizen get a driver's license in PA?
So I will let Frank answer the question in terms of how the state verifies it. I have not heard of any instance in which someone who is a non-citizen has voted in Montgomery County.
So if I get it to you, then you'll take it seriously?
I don't know if, I don't know anything about your background or expertise in investigations or any of that.
Well, I know you're a lawyer.
I'm happy to forward whatever you send to the appropriate
I know you're a
agencies.
lawyer. You're a smart guy, right? So the last board meeting that we had, election board, we were talking about election integrity. And here's some of the excerpts from your responses. Our system was challenged in every possible way it could be challenged in 2020 in every court in 60 cases nationwide and in Pennsylvania. It's been thoroughly examined, and we have an election process that has integrity, that's incredibly safe, and has multiple safeguards.
Yeah.
Right? You're a lawyer, right?
Yes.
Of those 60 cases, how many of them were dismissed for lack of standing?
So I'm a lawyer, but I don't do trivia. But
It ain't trivia. It's not trivia.
So I don't have the number offhand.
Right.
Covering in.
But what I will tell you is that if there are significant issues of fraud, I don't think standing is the only thing that would be in the way of the lawsuit. And
Right.
I think there are judges of both political parties who
Right.
dismiss those cases.
Because of lack of standing. That's my point. And I guess my point, what I'm trying to make the point is, that's your basic go-to is 2020, which I don't understand. Because 2020, you claim was adjudicated and no fraud was found, that we don't need to look anymore.
No, I mean, we
We don't need to look anymore, right?
we are constantly, I wouldn't say, so we have multiple safeguards in place, everything from registration to making sure the day of that we have poll books tracking who votes and who doesn't, and I'm happy to give you a few more seconds. But we take everything very seriously. If anyone has any concerns of any potential fraud, there was one instance of fraud in 2020 of a man who voted for Donald Trump on behalf of his mother who had died. That person was prosecuted. I believe they received probation, so they didn't actually receive jail time. But that was the one instance that I'm aware of. I don't know our solicitor's here. I don't know if he knows the trivia question in terms of which cases went past standing. You might actually.
Well, there were several cases that had substantive analysis both before the election, all the way through summary judgment, so full discovery on whether or not there was a risk of fraud in the election in the Western District of Pennsylvania in front of Judge Ranjan, in which he found there was not. That largely related to the process of mail-in ballots and drop boxes in Pennsylvania. And then there were the post-election cases brought by the RNC and then President Trump challenging the outcome that went up to the Third Circuit and substantively looked at the allegations that were made and found there was no merit to them.
So you have case numbers on this?
I can get you those.
Yes, if you could, that'd be great.
Sure.
Because I'm talking about, he seems to be applying this nationwide, right? The Pennsylvania case, Western PA, it's one case, right? Mostly all of those cases were lack of standing, okay? I think the RNC, I don't think had standing, okay, because they weren't voters. So voters, like myself, we have standing because we have skin in the game. But
I'll just tell you one more thing. Regardless of the cases, we had all the ballots, we have all the records of who voted, who didn't vote. Those are public. Any third party, including the RNC, including the Trump campaign, including anyone who believes that there was fraud in the last election or any of the ones since, they can look at those records and they can say, here's 1,000 people who shouldn't have voted and the rolls say that they voted. No one has done that.
I'm not making myself clear though. I don't care
Yeah.
about 2020.
Right.
Right? 2020 is over. But you're bringing it up now as an example to move forward because everything was adjudicated. Well, that's not the case. What I'm concerned about is what's happening now and what's going to happen in November. That's what I'm concerned about. So that's why I'm bringing it to your attention. Just like, I look, like you said, the registration form has all those questions on there. One of the questions, or one of the instructions is, do not use P.O. box number. You're not allowed. I got a list of voters, 50 of them, with P.O. boxes as the registration address.
So we can consider that, you can forward it to us. What I will say is, for example, give you an example, a person who has moved or is homeless, right? Just because they don't have a permanent address or a residential address does not mean they don't have the right to vote. So I mean, Frank, you can speak to this, but I don't think that disqualifies a voter necessarily. Ben, I don't know if you want to speak to this on the address.
Well, I think the most important fact is that from the county operations perspective, and this goes to the questions you're asking about, how do we know what? There is a registration process in Pennsylvania. There is a registration database maintained by the state. We have obligations under both federal and state law to provide certain communications to voters and maintain the list in a certain way. And there are restrictions on removing people until processes have been gone through. So we maintain our lists and do all those processes in accordance with law, and that ensures that everybody who is entitled to vote is able to, without suffering a constitutional violation by being inappropriately removed from a list. So we're doing exactly what our obligation is, and Frank Dean can talk more about this, under the legal structure that governs our election processes.
And again, it goes to I've asked this question a bunch of times. How many people have been purged from the rolls who moved out of state or out of the county?
So we have records of that. I'm sure we have.
I mean, Frank Dean can talk about the processes we go through.
Well, he talked about the processes at the last meeting. I got that on tape. But I'm asking you, like you just came back with, people who are homeless and people who move.
Just give me an example.
Well, no, I'm just saying, you're making a generalization, they should be allowed to vote. My the way I view it, is fraud takes away my vote, right? So, I understand your concern about letting everybody vote. My concern is letting people who shouldn't vote take my vote. See what I mean?
So, and we share the concern in terms of setting safeguards to make sure that only people who are eligible to vote. And, we can walk you through all of those. We will continue to engage in communication, explaining all the safeguards.
And again, based on your comments, I had to call the state.
What?
Based on the comments you had made at a prior meeting, I had to call the state to find out how you purged the deceased voters from your rolls.
Well, that is, we can talk about how voter maintenance, Frank, why don't you, I got to bring him up.
Yeah, no, I got it.
3 minutes.
All I would like-
We can cover voter maintenance in the rolls.
I'd like to see a report that shows, because you get weekly to bi-weekly reports from the health department about people who died. That's what they told me.
Okay.
Right? I spoke to somebody in voter services who said she processes the report, and hopefully these people are getting pulled from the rolls. I just want to see verification that that's how many got pulled from the rolls.
Okay. Frank.
We'll check my mother
Frank-
that just died, so we'll check that. So can we move on with the meeting?
Yeah, go.
Um,
I'm good. Thank you for your
Okay.
time.
All right, thank you. So I'm going to bring Frank up, and, yeah. Frank, come on. What? I know.
Good afternoon. Would you like me to address that first or go through my regular?
In summary form for now, if you could do
Certainly.
that.
We
Thanks.
follow all of the statutorily prescribed processes for voter roll maintenance. Currently, there are only 2 methods by which we can unilaterally remove someone from our voter rolls. They die, or their information is passed to us through a mechanism such as ERIC. During the last meeting, I reported that we had begun that process. We are approaching the 30-day mark where voters have to respond, where they will be placed on inactive status. That is the point by which the clock starts, and after 2 federal elections, we can legally remove them from the voter rolls. Those are the only 2 methods that we are allowed to remove someone from the voter rolls.
Can you report to us, either now or later, how many people that is?
Absolutely. And to answer the smallest question, on our website is a record request form. If you fill that out, all of these reports can be provided.
Great. Okay. What else you got?
Well, we continue to hold regular meetings with our senior staff and vendors to ensure that we are on track for November. I mentioned to Commissioner DeBello about the project management plan. Yes, we provided the first draft of that earlier this week. We will continue to update that plan and provide those updates to the board. The plan as it stands, we wanted to focus first and foremost on everything that surrounds ballot creation and mailing ballots, because that's obviously a very hot topic, as you mentioned with Phoenix Graphics. So our hope is that that project plan can be a very quick reference sheet for members of the board to see all of the different deadlines and dependencies that determine when we're able to get ballots into the hands of voters. In order to attain that goal, we have scheduled a kickoff meeting later this month with a project manager from our voting system vendor. The project manager will be critical in minimizing the turnaround time between our ballot proofing and ballot programming and quality control measures. Once the August filing deadline passes, we intend to work up multiple different ballot contingencies to ensure that as soon as the state certifies our ballot, we are able to provide that file to our printer and get ballots into the hands of our voters as soon as possible. And dovetailing right on the end of that, we visited an additional ballot printing vendor to add additional capacity to our capabilities, Phoenix Graphics in Rochester, New York. Myself, our chief clerk and solicitor conducted a detailed review of their operations, and I believe that contracting with them will add significant capacity and depth to our team of vendors. We are nearing completion of our list maintenance activities. Next week is the 30-day deadline for all of the letters that we issued last month. As soon as that deadline passes, anyone that has not responded to those letters will be marked inactive and begin the process of being removed from our voter rolls. We just finished completing our 2020 survey of polling location accessibility as part of our compliance with the ADA. And I'm happy to report that out of 303 polling locations, all 303 were classified as accessible. The number of mail-in applications we receive each week has remained pretty consistent since our last meeting, but we anticipate that to start to rise towards the end of next month, the beginning of September. We are currently sitting around 82,000 approved applications. Additionally, our review of Dropbox and satellite office accessibility is proceeding as planned. Together with the county's GIS team, we've identified several areas for potential expansion. Our next steps are to reach out to property owners and obtain pricing for drop boxes and office equipment. At that point, I will return here to present that plan to the board for your review and vote. And finally, we've completed our 90-day report as part of our Act 88 election integrity grant process. I'm happy to report that we will be filing for 100% utilization of those grant funds. For this past year, we received just over $3.1 million. We spent $1.8 million in the general last year and the remaining $1.3 across the primary this year. Following today's meeting, I'll be providing the board with a post-election report that provides a more detailed breakdown of how those funds were allocated and requesting your signatures. And finally, our voter initiatives, our outreach initiatives are underway. We've scheduled about a dozen different events across the county related to voter registration or mail-in balloting workshops. If any of the board or any members of the public would like to have someone from our office come out and give one of those presentations, please contact us and we'd be happy to get you scheduled.
Great. Can you send us a schedule of those activities?
Absolutely.
That'd be great. Any board comments, questions?
Frank? Do we know how many companies, could you find out how many companies have read-write access to the voter rolls?
I can certainly do my best to find that out.
Okay, and could you also, with your analysis of possible addition of drop boxes, identify the location of the 600 mailboxes that are in Montgomery County?
Of course.
Because I'd like to see a correlation of mailboxes versus where we would want to add more boxes.
Of course. I'll include that when I return to present that plan.
Got anything? I think we're good.
A couple other questions real quick. The last meeting we had, I brought up a couple things I wanted to get information on about live streaming the videos of the drop boxes, which I shouldn't be a big deal, but have we found out any information regarding that?
Yes. Because the systems are, they monitor the boxes are separate, there are a couple hurdles to cover there, but I'm working with our director of security to
So when
get
you
over those
access
hurdles
those,
and find out what our capabilities are and whether or not that would
right.
necessitate.
So when you access those cameras, then you're using different devices to view the videos from those cameras?
Some of
So-
them
so-
are on our county network, some of them are on the network of the locations where the boxes are placed. So we have to actually retrieve that footage.
How do you retrieve it?
Physically from the location itself.
Oh, so you have to go to the location and retrieve it?
Or they send us a file
They're
from
saying
there.
file. Okay. Did you get any information about the cell signal jamming?
I have actually started that conversation with our IT department to do a review and find out what the capabilities of blocking any signals are. And we are also working with CISA to have a full security review done of our voters warehouse and getting a list of safety recommendations and best practices to ensure that our facilities are 100% secure.
Who's CISA again?
CISA, Center for Internet Security.
Right here.
Got it.
And then where are we at with, because what I brought up at the last meeting, when we, during COVID, we corralled people that were there to watch the process going, at central processing in the warehouse, which I support and understand, but we're post-COVID, and what I recommended is that, we at least allow 4 people from each party throughout, not the same 4 people, but 4 people, individuals, I'll say, from each party to have the ability to have access to have full availability to walk around and watch what's going on at both the central processing and the warehouse. So where are we at with that?
I've had those conversations with our solicitors and our security team to kind of figure out how that would work to ensure that while we want to be as transparent and as accessible as possible, we don't want to be opening ourselves up to any potential bad actors, and kind of having a discussion about it may just be that they have chaperoned access through the facility, so that if you want to see something, I will show you. We're not breaking any laws here. You can see whatever you like.
Yeah, I guess I need a review of the law that actually prevents us from allowing people watch certificates that full access, because Act 77 doesn't state that people are corralled. So, I just wanted, I think that whatever we could do to be a little bit more flexible and allowing, and I'm not saying opening it, because I agree with some of the stuff that you're saying, but I think that we should try to find a way to have the ability for people, a minimum, some subgroup of people, access to be able to walk around.
Well, specifically for the warehouse, we've never prevented anyone from looking at or seeing anything. We ask them to stay in a particular area, and if they'd like to see something, they need only ask. I'll walk them through. I've personally shepherded people through several of our audit processes. You got to witness firsthand how exciting that is.
It is.
And again, we're not hiding anything. So,
We could have yellow vests that they could wear or something,
Sure.
that identifies them as those people that have access.
the only limitation at HSC that we ever had was during COVID.
Right.
HSC has an overflow room. We have cameras all around the TVs, so you can see every side of the operation.
Yeah, it's the closed circuit cameras.
Yeah, that I don't know.
Exactly, so
Yeah.
let's not keep going down that road.
Right.
So I think we could allow what I'm asking and have within reason and have, rules of engagement, whatever you want to call it, that what people, if we allow, even if we have a specific type of certificate or whatever that allows them, people to have more availability to walk around and see what's going on, oversight.
I can certainly meet with our solicitors and find out what our wiggle room is with that, and I can
Yep.
report that back
Great,
before our
thank
next
you.
meeting.
And then you'll let me know once you have that full list of open judge of elections and inspectors and all that?
Yes,
But
so that
that's
process
later.
starts next month.
Yeah.
And around September, you'll hear me start to mention that we are at X capacity and we are looking for certain places. And that's when we'll start reaching out and asking for assistance where needed.
Yeah. Cool, thank you.
Want to speak to any of this?
Just that, I look forward to talking more about it. There are a variety of real issues that have to be balanced in relation to access. Certainly transparency is an incredibly important part of the elections. There's ballot security, there's employee security, and we just have to look at the plans together and find the best path for the performance of the elections and the public transparency together. So I look forward to doing that.
Great. All right, thank you for everything you're doing. We know this is
My pleasure.
yeah. I still think we should do a retreat of some sort for your team because it's going to be a very hectic fall. So whatever we can do to support the voter services team, let's have that conversation. Any other comments? Awesome. Okay, so I'll make a motion to adjourn July 18th meeting of the Montgomery County Election Board. Is there a second?
A second thought.
Any board comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting is adjourned.